Have you ever just had that gut feeling that when it comes to politics, your vote doesn't seem to speak as loudly as money does? You know, that sense that no matter who's in charge, the big decisions always seem to benefit a pretty select group of people? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on exactly how that system works, how corporate money can legally buy a front row seat at Australia's power table. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's just start with this number, because it really gets to the core of it all. See, this isn't about some shady backroom deal with a brown paper bag full of cash. No, this is a completely legal, highly structured system where companies can pay six figures every single year for special, privileged access to the very people running the country.
So, how does this whole cash for access thing actually work? What does it really cost to get that kind of influence? Let's follow the money.
Well, the way it works is actually pretty straightforward. Both of the major parties have set up these exclusive business forums. You can think of them as the official gatekeepers. They offer a pay-to-play service for corporations that want to buy some face time with senior ministers and policymakers.
And it literally operates like a menu for political access. If you want a platinum membership, that'll be $110,000, and that's per party. For that price, you get the highest level of access. You're talking dinners, boardroom lunches, policy briefings with the Prime Minister and senior cabinet members. The math is pretty simple, right? The more you pay, the more face time you get.
So here's the crucial part. It's all about the language they use. Officially, these are just business engagement opportunities. But come on, let's be honest. That doesn't really pass the pub test, does it? When you're paying a huge fee for special meetings with the country's top decision makers, you're buying access.
And this is where it gets even shadier. Despite all the promises of more integrity in politics, governments have actively fought to keep the details of these meetings a total secret. Their argument is that because it's a party fundraising event, it's not official government business. And because of that, it's not subject to freedom of information laws. It's a massive loophole, and it's designed to keep us, the public, completely in the dark about who is influencing our leaders behind closed doors.
Okay, so that's the price of a ticket to these events. Now, let's zoom out a bit and look at the sheer scale of the money that's sloshing around our entire political system, and how much of it is completely hidden from public view.
Get this. In a single financial year, just 2023 to 24, Australia's political parties raised a staggering $166 million. And, as you probably guess, the vast majority of that cash flowed directly to the two major parties.
But that's just 1 year. Over the last 2 decades, the Center for Public Integrity found that nearly $1.5 billion in political funding came from sources we can't identify. That's billion with a B. It's often called dark money for a pretty simple reason. We literally cannot trace where it came from.
So you might be wondering, how on earth is so much money kept hidden? Well, a huge reason is the federal disclosure threshold. Right now, it's $16,300. Any donation below that amount doesn't have to be publicly declared. This creates this obvious loophole, right? It allows a single donor to just make multiple smaller payments to different party branches, keeping their total contribution completely anonymous. And when you add up all these loopholes, the result is, well, it's kind of shocking. According to the Grattan Institute, the money that we can actually see, the declared donations, made up only 7% of political party income last year. That means a massive 93% of their income came from other places, including public funding and, of course, that hidden dark money.
So what's the big deal? What's the real danger in all of this? Well, the Grattan Institute puts it perfectly. This dependence on just a few powerful donors creates a huge risk that decisions get made to benefit private interests, not the public good. And there's actually a name for a system that works like this.
That system is called state capture. It's a really powerful concept that helps explain how all these different pieces, the cash for access, the dark money, the loopholes, how they all fit together into one big picture.
So the World Bank defines state capture as a situation where powerful private interests don't just influence policy, they actively work to shape the rules of the game for their own benefit. You see the difference? It's not about breaking the rules, it's about capturing the rulemaking machine itself. You can think of it as a kind of slippery slope. It starts with what we might call acceptable levels of influence, but when that goes unchecked, it can slide into outright corruption, then into systemic state capture, and if you take it to its logical conclusion, towards oligarchy, which is a state that's run by a small group of incredibly wealthy and powerful interests.
Okay, so if state capture is the big picture,
How does it actually work on the ground, day to day? Because it's not just about money, it's about controlling the key channels of influence.
A classic example is what's known as the revolving door. This is that constant flow of people moving from senior roles in government, politicians, their staff, public servants, into high-paying jobs in the private sector, and sometimes back again. They take all their inside knowledge, their contacts, and their privileged access with them, and it just completely blurs the line between public servant and corporate lobbyist.
And look, this is not a one-sided issue at all. We see it happening right across the political aisle. A former Liberal industry minister ends up leading a resources council. A former Labour resources minister joins the gas lobby. A former defense minister takes a top job at Boeing. It's a well-worn bipartisan career path.
Another really powerful channel is the public influence campaign. This is where powerful industries use their huge resources to absolutely dominate the public conversation. They use media outlets and friendly think tanks to basically disguise their private corporate interests as the national interest.
And honestly, there's a clear three-step playbook for this. First, an industry pays a think tank to produce some research that, surprise, surprise, perfectly aligns with its goals. Second, allied media outlets promote that research over and over again, framing the entire public debate. And finally, politicians can point to this manufactured public consensus as the justification for making policies that just so happen to benefit their big corporate donors. It's basically a way of laundering a corporate talking point into public policy.
So, after all that, why should you care? Why does any of this matter to your everyday life? Well, it's because in a system of state capture, your voice isn't just competing with your neighbors, it's competing with billions of dollars. This quote just absolutely nails it. What we're talking about is a fundamentally uneven playing field, where your one vote is being forced to go up against the massive financial power of entire industries that often have very, very different priorities than the average Australian. And the real-world consequence of this? Inaction. Total policy paralysis. I mean, just think about the proposed ban on gambling ads. It has overwhelming public support, yet the government has failed to act for years, all while donations from gambling corporations have skyrocketed. When policy is designed to protect those who pay for access, solving our biggest problems becomes nearly impossible.
Which really leaves all of us with one big, crucial question. In a democracy that's supposed to represent everyone, if the rules are being written by the few who can afford to buy their way in, who is left to fight for the public interest? Who's left to speak for the rest of us?